None of this, tell me a little bit about yourself, Jalissa. We're going to get into the raw truth,
Let's
okay?
get it. Yes.
You've mentored so many people at this point, guiding them through business, motherhood, and I love the traditional therapy that you bring forth. Now that you're in this season of your life, juggling all of the things, and I heard you said you were on a road trip recently. What's
Yeah.
one thing about motherhood that completely caught you off guard and something nobody could have prepared you for?
That's a good question.
Yes, I told you
Because
we're going deep. We're going deep.
welcome to Mindset Mastery Podcast, where we explore the intersections of motherhood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, and in each episode, we're diving into mindset, emotional regulation, and the real stories of mom entrepreneurs navigating both business and family life. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to Mindset Mastery with yours truly, Julissa Edwards. This episode in particular is super special. It's a spin to how we normally do things. I am being interviewed by the carefully selected one and only Melissa Ruiz. She has been a past mentor of mine for the past 5 years on and off, and I'm going to share a little bit about her. So, Melissa Ruiz is the founder and visionary of Melissa Ruiz Empowerment, a soulful business coaching powerhouse that mentors mystical, offbeat entrepreneurs to start and scale their business through a spiritually universal lens. Through her coaching programs, she inspires and empowers spiritual entrepreneurs to step into their leadership and pour their knowledge back into their own networks with a large focus on the BIPOC and LGBTQ plus communities. Born and raised in New Jersey, she did the whole hashtag van life digital nomad for 7 months, now living in California. You can find her manifesting in her spiritual vortex lab, doing yoga, or hiking somewhere in the woods with her dog. She has been featured in Forbes, Life and Style, and on Good Morning America. And she has now scaled her coaching business to 7 figures in less than 3 years. Y'all, Melissa's the GOAT if you're not catching the vibes already, okay? I only invest in the best, okay? And so through applying yoga philosophy, soulful methodologies inside her coaching business, she has manifested all of her successes. So as you can hear it in the hopefully in the tone of my voice, I have so much love and gratitude towards Melissa. She absolutely has changed my life for the better. And it's crazy to say that I have been in her world, she's been in my world for the past 5 years. And I've been doing this season 2 of the podcast is all about interviewing moms in business. And I was driving home one day from a road trip, me and my family. It was middle of the night, everybody's sleeping. It's my shift to drive, and that's when I get the most insight and buzzing thoughts about life, business, movement, what I want to change, how do I want to expand, what's next for me. It's just I have moment to think, and to be frank, because I'm driving, it forces me to like not be on my phone. I'm just in stillness, just on a highway road, just driving. And I was like, you know what? I should be interviewed. I should be interviewed for this season. I am a mother in business, and humbly, but also proudly speaking, I'm doing the damn thing. And it took a lot of work for me to get here. And I thought, who better than my previous mentor, Melissa Ruiz, to interview me? Not only because she's seen literally my business grow from the ground up to where it is today, she's also mentored me in some of the roughest emotional seasons of my life. I am so eternally grateful for her. And just a cherry on top, she's also a past TV producer. She was a past journalist in the world of TV and media. And so, again, who better than the one and only Melissa Ruiz to interview me? And let me tell y'all, my intuition did not miss because this is such a good episode. So, without further ado, Please allow me to introduce Melissa Ruiz. And what a beautiful, grounded, heartfelt conversation. She does not hold back. She asks amazing questions. I would love to hear your feedback after the end of the show. Alrighty, enjoy. I am so excited, Melissa. Thank you for being here. How do you feel? What do you want to say before you officially take over the host role?
Where's the mic? I am so excited. I literally offline was telling Jalissa how excited I am, not only to have an opportunity to interview you because I love you, and there's just so many things that I want to ask you that I feel like, I've known you for a long time, Jalissa, and I feel like as I was writing some of these questions, I'm like, yeah, I want to see how she answers this. I want to see
Oh
how she
God.
But I regress. I wanted to say that I used to be a TV producer and I used to do this for 13 years, interviewing people. So just the thought that you asked me also put me back in that position of, yeah, just reminiscing a little bit of what my old life used to look like.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
why I
some
picked you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and some of that's going to come in this conversation because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about like
Yeah.
the former versions of ourselves and
Yes.
how we grieve the former versions of ourselves as we
Mm.
shape shift into all of these different roles that we play. So let's get into it, girl. I'm ready. I'm like, I got my question number one queued up. I'm
Let's
queued
go.
up.
The mic is officially yours. I am being interviewed and I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for having me on, Jalissa. This first question, I'm gonna dive right in because this is
Okay.
actually one of the things that I mastered being a TV producer and asking people questions. So none of this, tell me a little bit about yourself, Jalissa. We're gonna get into the raw truth,
Let's
okay?
get it. Yes.
You've mentored so many people at this point, guiding them through business, motherhood, and I love the traditional therapy that you bring forth. Now that you're in this season of your life, juggling all of the things, and I heard you said you were on a road trip recently. What's
Yeah.
one thing about motherhood that completely caught you off guard and something nobody could have prepared you for?
That's a good question.
Yes, I told you
Because
we're going deep. We're going deep.
because there's a lot of things that motherhood could have never prepared me for. Um, I'll have two sides of this answer. I think from the outside looking in, I've definitely become softer, 1000%. I have slowed down. I am more emotional in the best way possible. I am more of a nurturer, caregiver. Luckily, that came out naturally. But what was the biggest thing for me personally? Um, there's this inner drive that makes me want to fight for a life where I do get to have it all. And let me refine that statement. I knew you and I know I love metaphysics. I am a geek for science. I always believed in the laws of manifestation, all of that jazz. So I always knew anything was possible. But when you continue to add layers of pressure in children, beautiful angels add pressure.
Yeah.
Right? I am now even more motivated to say, work less, make more. How can I work less, make more? Work less, make more of an impact. So, yeah.
Damn, I really love that. And I think now, especially, this conversation is so important because so many of us are dropping into more of that flow, into more of that divine feminine energy of like not wanting to work hard. And I don't think it's just people online. I think just like across globally, like across
Yeah.
the board. Like I think I've spoken to so many more people that, especially after COVID, they're like, nah, I'm not going back to work. Like I'm doing this remote thing, or actually I'm driving Uber. So it's so interesting
Mm,
how we are prioritizing our well-being. And this actually leads into the next question around identity
mm,
years building an identity as a therapist, which by the way, like let's just pause. Like that's a lot of work. I
yeah.
know for me, when I was a TV producer, like I was low-key mad. I was like, damn, I went to school, like assist got a lot of loans. Like we got a lot of loans to pay. And then to pivot,
Yeah.
I know for me it was like a little bit of an ego bruise, but
Yes.
then you had to completely reinvent yourself as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
mom, wife. And I
Mhm.
always, okay, whoever is listening to this, Jalissa is the mother effing go. Like, I always compliment her so much because, yo, we barely can juggle the business. You know what I mean? And she's doing so many. So, my question to you is, how did each transition shake your sense of self? What
I
was the
love that in all the different roles.
in all the different roles, and what was the hardest part of letting go of who you used to be?
Mm. Okay, let me start with the easy ones. Transitioning into wife to me was really easy. Nothing really changed for me. I went from dating my then boyfriend to getting engaged, and that was a lot for me because of what people expected or what I thought people expected once I became a fiance. But then we moved. Then we moved to North Carolina from New York, and honestly, I got to escape. I got to escape the societal pressures. We were in our own land in this blissful state in the South, and we were living our best lives. So nothing changed. We got closer. COVID literally happened the year after our engagement. And we were stuck in a house together, and it was fantastic. So transitioning to a wife was not hard for me at all. Um, Transitioning, I first became a business owner, then mother. So the period I was still doing my 9 to 5 and I was working at night to build my entrepreneurship, that felt really exciting. There was no risk because I already had money coming in, and this was something on the side that I was making extra funds for. And then my wheels, you know how I get, like I get really giddy and excited. I'm like, holy shit, like this is possible. Like, what else can I do? So in entrepreneurship, it just felt really thrilling. I think when I shifted to mother, I had this idea that I was supposed to be safer for a little bit. It's like, you're not supposed to be that ballsy, Jalissa. Like, you should be taking calculated risks.
Yeah.
You should make sure that you have income coming in. But at the same time, when I was pregnant with my son Marcus, that's exactly when, and you were my mentor, when I decided to quit my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That was super ballsy. And even though the business wasn't making enough money for me to do that, it was so early on. Like if someone that was looking at it with a broader spectrum could see like, well, we don't know if this money is going to last, right? And so identity shift in entrepreneurship, therapists made me very compassionate, understanding of different viewpoints, and I gave a lot of love to my clients, still do, but it allowed me to see people's deepest and darkest insecurities and wounds. So I had a lot of love to be a therapist. But to become a therapist as a business owner, then I had to force myself. Identity shift greatly of I am the best at what I do. I had to learn that mindset, and that was really uncomfortable for me, saying that I was the best, believing that I was the best, putting a show to the audience of like, I do X, Y, and Z so damn well. This is what will happen when you work with me. That was probably the hardest and continuous shift that I constantly have to work on as a business owner who's also wearing the marketing hat of how can I sell my products?
As you're answering this, I'm like shaking my head and I'm thinking like, this is exactly why we follow people who are doing something great. Because you're such an outlier to the average. As you were sharing all of this, I was thinking, damn, what kind of mindset do you have to move through all of this? Because I think that is the biggest hurdle. I won't say motherhood because I'm not a mom yet, but I would say maybe a lot of those hormonal changes, physical changes, your circle changes, and it's
Yeah.
like, how can you adapt to that? And it's the same thing with business. It's the unknown. It's like we're so afraid of where the money is going to come from, where the client is going to come from. And I can attest to this because I remember, I think, you shared with me, if I can say that
Yeah.
okay, good. You don't even know what I'm going to say, but
I
I
don't
love
even know. I just
you
trust
shared.
you.
Yes, that you were expecting on a retreat. And I
Yes. Yes.
so I'll never forget that moment because we were about to do yoga and it was one of my earlier retreats. I remember that. And you just had some questions like, hey, can I do these moves? And I'm expecting. And I was like, holy crap, this girl literally can do it all. And part of that comes from a refinement in your mindset. And of course, there's some therapy background that you have training. But listen, I know a lot of therapists and social workers that are still stressed out. Okay. So there
Mm,
is something to be said about how you cultivate your mindset, and which is why a lot of clients continue to come to you and you continue to have
mm,
those repeating clients, because there is just something so beautiful when we see somebody doing the damn thing. We want to follow them. We want to be in their energy. So yeah, thank you
mm.
for sharing that. And a follow-up question to that is, do you ever grieve your older selves?
I'll backtrack just one step because I forgot to mention the part that I struggle with most probably in motherhood is two things. My body image 1000%. But to be fair, I've always struggled with that. So I know it's just like an old story repeating itself, but the wound definitely hits deeper because I'm much heavier than when I was before I was a mom. Right. So I already had insecurities there, and then becoming a mom of two fairly quickly and not losing the weight from the first to then the second, I put on a lot of weight. And that's definitely a hard identity shift. No, it's again, it's the same story repeating itself. It's just louder now. To your follow-up question, say it again, what you just
Yes.
asked.
Yeah, if you ever grieve your old
Oh,
self.
grieve.
And I'll just interject real quick. Like, there is a version of me that not a lot of people could remember, but there is a version of me. And I always say, like, she was a hot mess express, because when I say those words, I can channel that energy of Melissa being like, yes, last call. I'm still here till the club closes.
Mm,
And while of course I don't miss having a hangover or doing any of those risky activities, or quite frankly being broke and just having my life being very, very messy, there's a version of me that's like, I miss that girl. She was so fun. She was so fun,
mm,
and I try to still bring forth that energy even now, because I know that that person isn't completely dead. But some versions of
mm.
us, I think, are. I think some versions of our ourselves, we completely almost
Forget.
forget and release. So I was curious if there was any Jalissa, all the Jalissas that you've ever grieved, even if it's yeah, I
My
miss.
fitness. My fitness.
Yeah.
My beastly ability to pick up any sport in the past, any activity and just fucking kill it. I wanted to join the military. Like I was like combat like ready mentally. Like I now fear, like I have thoughts now of like, is that safe for me? Should I be doing that?
Yeah.
Whereas my kids are only getting more active and I want to be right there with them. So it's definitely something that I'm working on. And yes, I miss the empowerment and the confidence that I used to have in my physical ability.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. I remember in the mastermind, you one day posted a picture of your softball practice,
Oh
and
yeah.
you had a really good game. And I can hear it in your voice. You were just like lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yes.
I can imagine there's like that athletic part that you were just like, yeah, that, because that version of us comes with like specific characteristics, right? So,
Dedicated, like determined, um, disciplined, disciplined.
yes. Okay, here's a question that I've never asked you, and I've known you for, okay, guys, I've known Jalissa for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how we've been working together for this long, and there have been seasons where she's gone off and done her thing and continue has scaled her business. One thing that I love about Jalissa is that she is an avid investor. She'll invest in different type of help, different type of mentorship, because I believe there's just a little free coaching here, but I believe that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to know what season you're in. And I
Mm,
think everybody thinks it's go time. And sometimes it's go
mm,
time. And sometimes
mm,
it's slow time. And sometimes
mhm.
it's marinate time. And sometimes it's creation time. And you've been
Yeah.
very intuitive, hence why you still have a business and you're running it your way. But here's a question that I've never asked you. Might seem simple, but I'm dying to know. What is your secret to maintaining this mindset and what I perceive as a high frequency energy while
Hmm.
running your business, having these little ones, and constantly being pulled in so many directions? I have to tell
Direction.
you that you make it seem easy. You make me want to have two kids. I'm like, that's all I gotta do. Like you make it look amazing.
I don't know if you'll be surprised with this answer, but my business is what saves me. I have no problem sharing that I have an egoic attachment to my success through my business. And so when motherhood can be crippling and really fucking hard, I know, and this is maybe unhealthy, but I can say in the back of my head, at least I'm doing a good job in my business.
Hmm.
It's the competitor, disciplined person in me that's like, I write posts about this. I'm like, I enjoy motherhood more because I'm making money in my business. I can be present with my children because I know I already made sales in the morning before I hang out with them.
That part. Yeah, it makes you look at your business in a whole different way. I feel like me and you, or rather, I'll just speak for myself. I relate to a lot of what you're saying. And actually, I had a student the other day. I always get this question from some students, like, "How do you keep going, Melissa? How do you just keep going? How do you do the thing?" And I'm like, I just love what I do so much. I know that's so cliche, and this business gives me life. Like I live
Yes.
sound like a broken record, but it makes me more of who I'm supposed to be and even
Yeah.
who I think I'm supposed to be. I keep unraveling that. And I love that high
Yeah.
of
Yes, it's a high. I was just gonna say that it's a high.
yeah,
It's a natural buzz, and you and I are definitely the same in that aspect. And we do have a lot of similarities in the whole discipline and going ham. Like I think also too, because I love it so much, I'm able to go hard. I feel like I've just mastered going hard. Or what used to take me 30 hours, I now do in 16 hours. But I'm still going ham. Like my 4 hour work days, I'm pushing it for those 4 hours. But I love it. I get to clock out and be like, done deal. I'm ready to play with my kids now.
I love that. This is a good segue into the next question because I've read a question about feminine energy and hustle energy and how your views have changed. I believe it's my opinion, just from watching you grow, that has been a key part from what I've seen. Again, I'll let you speak for yourself as a big part of your success too. You turn it on when you need to turn it on and you back it off. And I know me, you have had questions where you're just like, I don't think I don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then you don't, right? And I think you're such an intuitive person and you don't give
Mm,
away your power. And I think that's where it gets really tricky. So, my question is, as a psychotherapist, you help people regulate their emotions.
yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, you help people build their empires or build themselves.
Hmm.
Now, as a mother, you have to hold space for both your children and your business.
Yeah.
So, how has your relationship with hustle, productivity, soft life, how has that shifted for you,
Mhm.
if any?
Hmm. Um, with my children, I've become softer. I Everyone is so our era of like parenthood these days is so big on conscious parenting. We're really changing the game on how we respond to our children's emotions, how we have more patience, how we're being more reflective. My motherhood program is all about that, like taking this blessing that it is to be a parent in one of your deepest shadow works that you will ever do in your life. And for me personally, I always say that I'm getting it on both ends because business does it for me too. Business checks my ego. Business makes me stand up and be a leader. Business makes me remind myself why I am special. What are my God-given talents and gifts, and what am I supposed to show to the world? And I keep rediscovering that, like you said, over and over and over again. And there are definitely times where I don't believe in myself, and I'm like, "What the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is so hard." And then God, source, universe kicks you in the touch, and it's like, this is why the fuck you're doing this. And it's that sense of enlightenment, courage, and light that keeps me going. So business has its own shadow work on its own. And then you have motherhood that checks your inner child traumas. Because as your
Ooh,
children are growing up, you're remembering more. You're remembering more of what you experienced in your childhood. Parts of your parents come out in parenting. You're like, where the fuck did that come from? And it's like, oh, like there's a lot of times where like fully frank, I had a horrible day with my kids today. And it was all my fault. It was completely my fault. I was irritable, I was short-tempered, and the whole time I'll still do it tonight. I'm like, what happened today? There are days where they could be so effing annoying, and I am cool as a fucking cucumber, redirecting all the things, being nice and gentle. And there are days like today where I lost my cool many times. And in those moments, it's like, okay, can I observe the anger that is rising within me? And do I know where it's coming from? It's clearly not from my kids, but something else is happening here. Right? And so, what was your question?
I love how you, I love how you coach yourself, you know? Yeah, just like all the differences between hustling and that
Oh,
divine
yes.
energy and how it's changed. And you were reflecting back to us how you've softened with your kids. And then you were just giving us that real, honest truth of, yeah, I kind of lost it with my kids today. And before you add on to anything, because you answered the question, I
Yeah.
would say that, by the way, this happens to all human beings. And I actually play a little game with myself to see if I can catch how many times I go unconscious in a day. And I can't tell you, I lose
Mm.
count. I
Mm.
love how people think they're just like these enlightened spiritual beings. Bring awareness to how often you go unconscious. And you know you go unconscious when we lose the emotional mastery, right? When we lose our
Mm.
ability to respond. It's when we're in the
Mm.
reactive that we go bye-bye, right? It's like that one person that
Mm.
cursed us off or cut us off or flipped us off. And usually 9 out of 10 times we're good, but it's just that one moment and you go right into it. And it's
Mhm.
okay. And I think that's something I want to honor that Jalissa is sharing with us so vulnerably. And I believe that it's those moments that make people feel more connected than separated is when we can all see that we have those moments where we go unconscious that or we lose our cool or we lose our temper or I'll speak for myself. Sometimes people think I'm very confident and I am for the most part, but I'm a human being. Of course there's going to be moments that I doubt myself. I mean, please run away from anybody that says I'm perfect. I never doubt myself. What do you mean?
Mm.
You're not doubting yourself. Let's just put it this way, because this is a podcast about growth. If you're
Mhm.
not doubting yourself, you're not at an edge to grow. You're in your comfort zone. There's no
Mhm.
way that you would be able to grow without feeling fear, being uncomfortable,
Yep.
and doubting yourself. So if you're not
Yep.
doubting yourself, you're not growing, baby girl, human
You're not
being.
stretching.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. See, when you feel fear, this is one thing I always share with my students. It's go time. That's good. That's amazing. That's an
Mhm.
edge. That's a new
Mhm.
version of yourself that's trying to come through.
Yeah.
So balancing all, it's important. Okay,
Yeah.
I have more questions. I have more questions. I have so many more. Okay, one of the things that Jalissa shared with me, I'll never forget 5 years ago, 5 years ago. It's crazy that I remember every conversation that I've had with people, and I've
Mm.
coached, I can't even, I lost count. But because I do all of my own sales and I really connect with people in the DMs, I'm so proud that I've gotten to know people over years, Jalissa being one of them. And I can never forget. I can never forget the very first conversation that we had. And you shared with me that you were a therapist, a psychotherapist. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but you had mentioned that you had seen or see somewhat up to like 20 clients a week. And
More.
more. And that's why I don't want to ever say more because I don't want to like, I'll let you fill
Mhm.
in the blank. And I almost am positive that you also said that you were an adjunct professor.
Yes.
College. Okay. I remember this from our very first conversation. And I thought, holy crap, that is a lot. So my question to you is, you used to see at least 20 plus, you corrected me more, was an adjunct professor.
Hmm.
But before you took the leap into entrepreneurship, was there a moment where you were just like, I can't do this anymore? It could be a small moment where you were like, I just went to the bathroom and I had a breakdown, or a big moment where a boss said something in a tone that you didn't like, or maybe it wasn't that dramatic and you were walking, in the park and you were watching a bird and you got an epiphany. Was there a breaking point? If so, what was it? Like, what would need to happen for somebody to leave their successful, safe, career that you went to school for and that you liked? It's not like you didn't like it. I know for me, I always talk about that
Mm,
one story of like me coming back from Morocco. It's like a big deal. And like people who don't even know me know that story because I say it so many times. Like that was where I was drawing the line in the sand. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm never gonna allow anybody to fire me. Like that's wild. Like to
mm,
me, in my mind, that my brain broke. Like I was like, I'm never putting myself in a position to work for somebody. And till this day, because that, I love when Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, like the more the emotion is real, the more we lock in that memory. And because that emotion is
mm,
so real, like I can tap into it like that. I even like get kind of pissed off and mad at the dude, you know, that's what keeps me going and has
mm.
convinced me that I can always make money. How can I not? Like I'm gonna always be successful. I have a drive that's being pulled from within me. So to regurgitate back to this question, is there any defining moment that took you to that edge, or was it a slow process for you?
Okay, this is a great question because I had so many different thoughts, and you're actually teaching me more of who I am through this question. So there was no breaking point for me. Call it a toxic inclination. I like being busy. I like feeling important. I like roles that challenge me. And even in my time as a therapist, like my very first job or internship while I was getting my master's was working with uh, a drug abuse center, drug and alcohol abuse center with like inmates and individuals that were just getting out of jail and or on parole. And so the population was very rough. And I like those. I like mastering things. And so when I was an adjunct professor, a therapist seeing 30 to 40 clients a week, and that's just regular. That's, it's just standard in the
But meanwhile,
industry.
that's not regular. That is a lot. And I
It
remember
is a lot.
I was like, you're only gonna see like 5 clients a week, maybe seven. And you're like, what?
Yeah, yeah. And it's nuts because now, yeah, I can't see more than 2 to 3 people a day
I
for my
know.
one-to-one clients. I'm like, yeah, no, this is a lot. But no, was there ever a breaking point for me? I think part of my generation too, like, I'm 32. I was a little cocky. Like, I was a part of the generation, like millennials, where I did the hard grunt work to get to where I'm at. I've been working since I was 15. Like, I've done all the work, always made my own money, like all of that. But I had the little bit of the younger generation where, like, we think we're unstoppable. So like if a boss ever did me dirty, my response was always like, F you, I'm gonna quit and get a better salary.
Mhm.
So nothing ever made me feel like this is enough. It was like, all right, I'm done with this. What's the next thing? I literally used to, like on my resume before becoming an entrepreneur, I only stayed at jobs for 1 year, 18 months max. I was always on to the next. And everybody, especially older generations, were like, hey, you got to stop doing that. No one's going to trust you. And I'm like, you're right. But people keep fucking hiring me. So I'm going to keep fucking doing it, you know? And so, again, there was never a burning point of like, you're doing too much. Your question made me realize, to be frank, because I'm still healing money trauma, is that I'm addicted to cash flow. And so, if there's a better opportunity and a better way to do it, I'm jumping ship
Yeah.
quickly.
Yes. Oh, there's so many things that you said. One, I just want to co-sign what Jalissa said. She's an excellent student. I
Thank
know
you.
you really are. More students like Jalissa, please. But you're so you're an executor. You see the big vision and you're like, okay, I know what to do, coach. I'm gonna just send this thing to this person, to this team, and like you just do it. And again, for those that are tuning in and wanting to extract those nuggets, those gems around what identifies somebody who's iconic, somebody who's doing the damn thing, and somebody who's like trying on the struggle bus, it's that. It's the ability to just go. It's the
Mm,
ability to almost like put your emotions to the side, which, by the way, also our society, especially now, almost has a problem with that. Everything is, wait, I have to check in with my body. And of course, you never want to abandon your body, but we are talking about mind mastery. And that's something that you teach and have mastered actually within
mhm,
yourself, which is why it makes sense that your business is so successful and you're able to shift in this way. But my
mm.
question to you around money is, and I've never asked you this, so this is another, I'm curious what Jalissa has to say. And nobody has asked me this question either. Simple question, but do you ever miss the stability of having a 9 to 5? Do you ever miss the steady paycheck? Do you
Mm,
ever miss the career security, the title of being an
mm.
adjunct professor or being a psychotherapist that works for the state, let's say?
Um, there have been moments in my entrepreneurship where I have dipped back into traditional counseling, due to scarcity, but it never felt good. So I never missed the title nor the paycheck. It felt like a failure. Um, I was just talking to my husband about this the other day. In the future, I would love to be an adjunct professor again in
Yeah.
like my retirement phase. I think I would love to do that, give back to, college, be at a podium at a university, be able to mold young minds on a larger scale. I would love that. But I wouldn't be doing it for the title. It literally in my journal, like universe, give me more of this. I want to be on bigger podiums. I like teaching. I like sharing my school of thought. Um, no, I don't miss, do I miss the stability? Entrepreneurship is rough because money is not always stable. There's, for me, super high cash months and then there's super low ones sometimes. We're getting much better though. I'm really proud of that. Um, I think I miss the false sense of security that a 9 to 5 could give you, but it still for me feels like giving up. So it feels like my soul is being crushed to
Yeah.
settle for stability. So long answer short, no. Um,
No.
I I think that I know that in the future, like when my kids are older, I think I was watching a show on Apple TV called Good Morning America. I love it. It's so good. Anyway, it was like, corporate world, TV production, news, and I'm like, I want to do, by the way, I know that's in my future too. I'm like, I want to be in front of the camera. I want to do that. And so then I spoke to my husband and I was like, do you think when the kids are older, maybe I would go back to corporate life and try this TV news outlet thing? And then I thought, no, I would go in as a contractor, but they would be hiring my company,
Oh my
whatever
God.
it is that I do. And so it's like, I'll never lose. It's like, I can do anything I want, but you're hiring Julissa Edwards Counseling. You're not hiring Julissa Edwards.
Okay, know the difference, know the enterprise, and know the human. I am just clapping for you because I'm so proud of this, everything you're saying. I'm like, yes, this is what we want. And ladies and gentlemen, we do not miss it. I think that's really the answer here. And
Yeah.
the reason why I wanted to ask this question is because that's usually people's fear. People's,
Mm.
but oh my God, it just drives me so crazy. I'm gonna have a moment to rant right now.
Hmm.
Drives me so crazy that the reason why more entrepreneurs don't actually start is because I need insurance.
Mm.
Paycheck. It sounds so crazy. And it's like, one, try not to get sick. Like, we should all try to be healthy. I used to be actually really embarrassed to say that I don't have a physician, I don't have a doctor, I haven't gone to the doctor in 8 years because I'm not sick. Of course, if I have an emergency, my arm's hanging off, there's ERs for that. And of course, if I,
Yeah.
but the goal is to live a healthy life. Okay. But
Yeah.
not what the government pushes. The government pushes is that you're going to get sick every day or every month. You're
Mm.
going to need to pay X, Y, Z. Anyways, this is not a life and food podcast.
Yeah.
I think it's
But thank you
important.
for saying that because I too have struggled with like I have not been up to date with my doctors. Like I had in years. The only time I went to the doctor was because when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And then for my second, I ended up going the holistic route. So I didn't even see a fucking doctor
You,
after
you,
4 months
you
pregnancy.
just had a home birth. You didn't
Yeah.
have, and let's
Which,
just,
yes.
that's a whole thing, but just to spotlight the fact that one day you will be on TV because you were already on TV.
Yes.
So super stoked and excited for you. So I know that because you're so ambitious, so many of the things that you desire to do are going to continue to unfold. And then you had a water birth. I remember like when you put the video up, and even before that, when you told me, I've been Jalissa's like cheerleader. I don't know if I'm her coach or she's my coach, or maybe we're both coaching each other. Who the hell knows? Um, but I was so inspired. I was like, holy crap, like what? Pushing out a baby out of your body? Like just like that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
It
go.
wasn't a water birth, but I was in the shower for the contractions and then I delivered on the bed.
Who
But
cares?
yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
I think I say a water birth because I
Because
think
it's
that's how my,
associated with home births. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, my
Yeah.
brain is like associating it exactly with, instead
Yeah.
of saying home birth. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, I have to say home birth, which is super wild, which by the way, like the fuck, amazing. But to answer the question of do you miss being in that stability, one of the things that I want to highlight here that you said really answers this is not really, because it was fake security. And I think ultimately that's also what I understood. It's this
It feels
sec-
like a jail. Like when you're saying it now and I'm thinking of my answer, like no, because it literally feels like I'm behind bars. It's like, yeah, safety for being locked up.
yeah. And I got food safety because I'm
Hmm.
not out in the street, and I got a warm bed in the jail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. I'll just add this little commentary. Nobody's asking me, but who cares? I'm just going to share it. It feels awful to think of going back to any job. Like just for a job.
Mm,
I'm like, absolutely not. And this is how you know Jalissa is such a seasoned entrepreneur, because she was like, yeah, I'll be a contractor. You're going to hire my
yeah.
company. And that's exactly it. And I think this is wealth codes as well. I study a lot of wealthy people and what they do and their habits, and yes, what they drink, smoothies, what they read, all of that actually really matters, and what they say yes to and what they say no to. And I think for
Mm,
me, being a Latina, it was a good job if I had any job. It was a good. You have money,
mhm,
good. It doesn't, who cares what you do? Go to college and just figure it out. And now being and having wealth, I've learned to say no to a lot of things because I'm like, I
mm.
don't know if that's worth my time. Have you found that like to be true for you, like especially being a mom where you're just like, I don't think I want to do this.
Well, literally just recently. Like, and this is, I've always, not that I've had a hard time saying no, but I never felt like I couldn't do something. So I would say yes to a lot of things, but only recently because of our change in childcare. And now that I'm working from 6 to 10 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, there were still moments, and mind you, just to keep it real, I'm recording at night. This is Melissa. This is my mentor. Worth it. I asked Melissa to come onto my podcast, so I have no problem doing this. But I have been asked many times to work until 12 because a client can't see me until then, and I have to respectfully say no. Not that I have to, I actually, for the first time in my life, I feel empowered to say no. Because I tried it for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did. My workout from 6 to 10, and I would squeeze in somebody at 10:30 and it would overflow and then it would ruin everything. And one of my most recent contracts, uh a dietitian she's asking me to coach her group of girls a second time, women. And I was like, absolutely, I love you. It just can't be at night anymore. And if it doesn't work out, I'm okay with that. It's all love, but for me, it doesn't feel good clocking out at 10 in the morning, going to see my kids, and then sometimes having to be like, mommy has to go back to work. There was a season of my life where I was doing that and it was fine. This season, I don't want it.
This leads me to um another question that I had that I wanted to start closing up with, and it was about your definition around success and freedom. Um, I'm going to ask you the question, but I'm also having this moment of just like reflecting back on all the versions that I've gotten to know of you, Jalissa, and how much
Mm.
changed through each and every iteration of Jalissa when she didn't have babies. And then when
Mhm.
she came to the retreat with a baby, and was coming to another retreat, but she had two babies. And
Yeah.
your life has been just this beautiful mystery box. And the way you navigate your own life truly, truly is a testament to your work. So, my question is, you built a business that allows you to create freedom. That's clear, especially with the hours and how you want to show up. But now that you're a mom, has your definition of success changed? And let's just broaden that. Mom,
Mhm.
married, business owner. What is your definition of success now?
Mm. Um, Slowness
Mm,
and being like having internal peace, groundedness. I think that's success to me. I can get caught up so much in numbers, number crunching, all of that. And there's been so many times in my most recent, like since moving to Charleston 6, 7 months ago, there's been so many moments of, no, you already made it, Jalissa. Like you've made it. Not that I don't want to strive for more. Of course I will, but it's not on my best days, on my good days. It's not from a feeling of lack. It's excitement of what I get to do more of because today I have a beautiful, healthy family. I have a fruitful marriage. I have a beautiful home. I have love that exists within a home, within the four of us. I genuinely love spending time doing nothing or being still with my children. And this is no shade to mamas that don't feel this way, but there are so many mamas that can't imagine spending all day with their kids, right? And so I've already won at life. I feel very blessed. I'm very grateful. Success to me is that evoking feeling of internal peace. It's like a yellow light that glows in stillness. Happiness, real happiness. That to me is success.
damn, I felt the potency of your words. And yeah, you just like opening up your channel and allowing the words to come out so effortlessly because you're really living it. And I think no matter what we do, whether it's business, motherhood, standing on your head, whatever you decide to do, humans just make sure you're happy. Just make sure you're
Mm,
happy because shoot, we just for right now, we just know we got one life, one body. So we just got to do it. And I think that has been even a part of my story too, just really thinking about what is the legacy? Like, what is the legacy that I get to leave? Am I going to look back at this moment and say, fuck, that was difficult, but I'm proud of you? Or am I going to sit there and
mm,
regret of all the things that I could have done and should have done? And what if, to me, that is literally the opposite of success. Success is
yeah.
waking up every day and feeling like I did it. What I did depends. It doesn't mean build $1 million business. It could be I went to the gym. It could be started
Mm,
eating healthy. Whatever it is, it's activating that gratitude. And I think it's one thing that I'm so passionate about also and talking to people because people think it has to do with the career or being a mom or getting married, but actually it's simplicity. And that's really what
mm,
I'm gathering from you. It's just the
yes.
simplicity, the richness of being present. So
Yeah.
I have just one last question.
Okay.
I want you to think about this. No need to answer it in all one go.
Okay. I'm hoping that you're gonna ask something, but go ahead.
Okay, wait. No, tell me. Tell
So I
for
have a if you haven't, I have a bonus question because I know intuitively I chose you as a mentor 5 years ago for a reason, but we gotta somehow, I want a question around spirituality because that
yes,
was non-existent before 2020 for me.
yes. Let's do it. Okay. Um, I'm gonna ask you this question, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
ask you this bonus question.
Okay.
One of the things, well, just reflecting on what you're just bringing forth, you have been now vibrating at this frequency of spirituality, of being on the path, of being on your purpose for quite a while, Jalissa, that it almost doesn't even dawn on me that there was a moment that you weren't. But let me take this back. We're never not on the spiritual path.
Hmm.
If you're a human being, you're always on the spiritual path. You're always evolving. But there is a clear difference between somebody who's very logical and very
Hmm.
intuitive. And I think if we want to see this in the science aspect, we look at that left brain, right brain, that logic, and the more emotional, creative side. So I'm going to just put a pin on this because I'm going to
Okay.
formulate a question around that. But if you had to describe this new season that you're in your life in one word, what would that be and why?
That is so hard. One word,
Yes.
like the chapter of my life right now.
No.
The imagery of water comes up. And if you remember our retreat in Mexico, the most recent one that I went on in your mentorship, it was all leading me back to water flow. But water also to me is like abundance. It's like water flow, like waterfalls. And so yeah, I think it's so that does sound cliche, like abundance, water, but like it's not just monetary. In fact, it's everything but it, to be frank. Um, it's like an overshowering of love and stillness and sun, like peace. It's either water or abundance. You choose. What makes more sense?
Well, it's both. Because, when we go into ceremony, and you've been in ceremony with us in retreat, especially in Tamascal, we bring in the directions and we bring in the elements. And when we refer to water, the sacred being and energy of water, we say that water is life.
Mm,
And without water, we're nothing. And then
mm,
we say this in Spanish, sin agua no hay nada, right? And it's true because a planet without water cannot exist. A body without water
mm,
cannot exist. So really what's true
mm,
is that you're tapping into the vast totality of the everything and the nothing. It's the oneness. It's
mm,
abundance, it's life, it is overflow, it's an overpour, it's in knowing that there is no lack. So, water is actually a perfect description, I would say, of where you're at right now. Like
mm,
nothing. You like nothing.
mm.
That's,
I
I,
love that.
yeah, I believe that's the goal for a lot of people
Mm.
to
Feel
be,
very blessed.
yeah. And again, that's where it comes from too, opening up the heart, right? The heart portal that's connected to the heart of the universe, reminding us that everything is poured out through the energy of gratefulness, and you cannot fake that. You have to really live that. And source, God, universe almost knows, like, oh, okay, Jalissa's operating in gratefulness. Let's get her something else. Let's give her something else. I remember you were sending me pictures of you constructing your home, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have like for sure cried so many times of just being happy for you and just seeing you
Mm.
go and just
Thank
seeing how
you.
you've evolved and changed your life. And sure, people have bad days, but it's not a bad week. Let me do that again.
Yeah.
Just is it, sure, it's a bad day, but it's not a bad week, it's not a bad month, and it's not a bad life. And so it's
Mm.
just allowing everything to be as it is. Okay, let's talk about spirituality. One of the things that I want to ask you, which I actually started to get more information was your channeling ability. And I
Yes.
remember when you were on the show too, there were some things coming up for you. And there was just, from what I sensed, activations that you were being pulled forward. And of course, you're a leader in your household, you're a leader as a psychotherapist, you're a leader in your business. Of course, you would be now leading and ushering in more of this spirituality, and you were being kind of
Mm.
pulled into your medicine work. Um, and you have Peruvian in your lineage too. So, Peruvian lineage, which I have too, worship the sun. So this is,
Mm.
they worship the sun too. So, like they do in Ecuador too. In Ecuador, they do a lot of sun dances to worship the god of the sun. In Mexico, they do this too. Peruvian, certain tribes, they do this too. So it makes sense why you were like connecting to the energy of yellow,
Mm.
and you were
Mm.
connecting to the sun, you're connecting to the water, connecting to the elements. Um, so let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about when did you notice? When did you notice that you had these abilities?
You know, it's so funny because I still don't fully I know that I am a spiritual woman and being, but just like anything else that you have to affirm and grow, there are days where I'm just living as the human and I forget that I'm also spiritual, right? And so I definitely didn't get any sense of this knowingness until I started working with you, Melissa. I would say before I started working with you, my very logical mind knew that I had this buzzing energy that would allow me to ask the right questions in therapy sessions that were not taught to me in school, that allowed me to have greater breakthroughs. But I used to call it getting lucky. I'm like, I used to push it out of my ass and they would just really transform the session. And I would actually have a lot of insecurity around that because I felt like a fraud of like, I didn't learn this in school. Should I be asking these questions? But they were the questions that help people heal. And so I knew there was and I had a mentor in my practice then of a social worker who was phenomenal, but she was also spiritual. And she used to affirm, she said, "You're not pulling it out of your butt, Jalissa." She was like, "You're gifted." And that was the first time I was like, hmm. And then shortly after, I went into entrepreneurship, and you were one of my first mentors in this world of spirituality that really helped to cultivate that. And I will say my most recent knowingness, it's a very strong memory, like what you were talking about with Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, when we were at the Mexico retreat and we did the Temazcal, and there was this knowingness that I used to be a medicine woman. This very much of when I am most calm and grounded, it's like I get bigger. I feel bigger. I feel like I grow in width and in height. Um, and it feels very much like old wisdom that is within me. And I remember, I don't know if I told you this, in the Temazcal, there was a point where you throw water on the rocks and um, it got in my eye. Like she threw the cup of water and it accidentally hit my eye, both of my eyes. And I was like, fuck, you know? But I was also like, oh, like I think my sight is going to be more activated because of this. And there goes again the water and the cleansing and the stillness. And also, a part of my spirituality for me is my big heart. I will never forget being in the Temazcal. That was my first one. And from what you told me, it was really intense compared to like others. And I remember my logical brain beginning to freak out of like, holy shit, can I breathe? Is the air too thick in here? Is this safe? Right? To then seeing Sarah, one of my other colleagues in there, and one of the other younger women in there. Um, and they were beginning to not panic, but being in a moment of distress. And I could feel that. And instantly it was so easy for me to forget about my own pain, my own fears, and my heart was, are they okay? What can we do to help them be okay? And that opening of like, wow, like love is so strong.
It is. Oh, and I want to just second what you said. It being the hardest, one of the hardest Tamaskal. No, it was literally the hardest Tamaskal that I've ever been to. And for those that are wondering what this is, it's a sweat lodge, but it's a ritual and a ceremony. So it isn't like this place where you go in and it's not a sauna. It's very ritualistic and you're in darkness and it's very, very hot. And while all of them are different depending on the energies that you sit with, in all of the ones that I've done, it was I was at my breaking point. I almost thought I was gonna tap out. It was very, very difficult. Um, yeah, and you sat through that like a boss. I want to ask a question around what is your connection to spirit? What does spirituality mean to you, and what is your connection to spirit? Because Jalissa that came in the beginning was one version, and Jalissa that left is another.
Mm. My connection to spirit, I always say, is a knowingness of self. Um, as above, so below, you know, anything that spirit gives me as insight is simply to learn more about myself. And the more that I can learn about myself, the better I can connect with other people. And so for me, spirituality is this again, it's love. It's the gift of, do you love yourself enough, or do you take the time to sit with yourself and really get to know all the intricate, beautiful parts of who you are? And the more that you master that, why my whole brand is Mindset Mastery, the more that you master that, the easier it is to understand other people, connect with other people, and judge others less because
Mm.
you're only judging yourself.
That part. Any other questions that you want to make sure that we cover or oh my gosh, I feel like I learned so much more about you just in us connecting this way. Thank you so much for having me on and for us just exploring and just kind of, yeah, just allowing things to unfold. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and it was
Thank
good.
you. Oh, go ahead. Let me
No,
not cut you off.
I really enjoyed this.
I think for personal reasons, I see the vulnerable Jalissa when we're on one-on-ones, when we've done some yoga together, when we've processed together. But you're pretty steady, girl. You're pretty steady. You're
Mm,
you're very reliable, dependable. You show up as a constant. I'm not sure if you get that
mm,
reflection a lot, but you're just consistent. Even in your business and the ways that you show up. So yeah, I really loved hearing how vulnerable you got in this episode, and I think listening to it back, you'll start to pick up on some of those moments. So yeah, thank you for sharing
mm,
your heart and your love and your vulnerability. I always lead with and I have the inner knowing that it's that heals. It's not people that heal and say, look at me, look at what I've done, look at all the money I've made, look at my business. It's when we drop into the heart and when we can allow ourselves to be seen, when we can practice non-judgment, and when we can love one another, really, truly.
mm.
So thank you for sharing your heart. Yeah, I really appreciated that.
Thank you, Melissa. For those that don't know, we shared it in context, but Melissa has been my mentor on and off for the past 5 years. She is a dear friend, a sister, someone that I look up to, and someone that I'm always learning from. And Melissa has also seen me at my darkest. I will never, I almost forgot to be honest, but I just remembered one of my darkest seasons was when I had prenatal depression. You really held it down for me at that time.
I
And
got
so forever grateful. Again, could not think of anyone better than to interview me for so many reasons, and your background and your knowledge and your love, your guidance. Thank you, Melissa. She's been an absolute angel to me. There's been moments even when we're not in mentorship where I've reflected and I'm like, yo, like Melissa really changed my life.
Mm. And
So,
you've changed mine.
mm,
And I really mean that in the way that you show up in your life, in the way that you show up as a wife, in the way that you show up as a mom. There are things that I like truly admire.
mm,
So I had so much fun formulating these questions about love and marriage and kids and mindset and growth and entrepreneurship and old self and new self and what it takes and spirituality and how do you shift and how do we grieve and how do we stay happy
mm,
and how do we stay present? It's so much that I think
mm,
anybody will drive themselves crazy just doing one. And yet you do so many of those things so gracefully. So I just know that whoever gets to work with you is blessed. And I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you that we got to work together and to still be in each other's lives. Like,
mm.
I think of you, I don't want to say every day, that would be creepy. But I think about you often, you know? I think
Mm,
about a lot of you girls often. And I'm like, wow, these people who were complete strangers are now my friends. And I know for anybody else who's out there like, what the hell? Yeah, that's what happens when you build a business. You really get close to people, especially these kinds of businesses.
yeah.
Truly is a testament to also your willingness to open up your heart and to be in that loving energy. So this was absolutely fantastic, delicious, amazing, brain candy for so many people.
Yeah.
And what an honor. Thank you so much for having me on. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Melissa, for coming and for sharing your heart, this time and energy and space. Probably one of my best episodes. So thank you so much.
Well,
If people want to follow you, girly, where can they find you, and what is the best way to contact you?
yes. Oh, for the human beings that want to follow me, that is amazing. I am a human, an earthling here on this spinning rock, which is kind of and crazy, but here we are. My handle is at I am Melissa Ruiz. That is my website. That is my Instagram. That is the YouTube. That is all the things. I'm very active in my DMs. So if you DM me and you ask me a question, I may not get to it right away, but I will get to it. I will get to it. But that's how you can follow me. I have lots of free resources, especially for those that desire to build a business through the lens of yoga philosophy, spirituality, a lot of the things that honestly Jalissa masters now, which is a lot of that mindset mastery, a lot of connecting to yourself, connecting to your intuition. I just so
Mm,
happen to do this through business. So that's a little bit about me. You can follow me. That'll be amazing. I would love to get to know you.
Thank you, Melissa. A beautiful conversation. Thank you for spending time with me. I missed you. This is a perfect way to reconnect and do business all in one, which we love doing. So it was perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And for our listeners, thank you for spending time with us. Until next time.
See you soon.
Thank you for joining me today on Mindset Mastery Podcast. I hope today's conversation inspired you to embrace your own journey of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship. Remember, it's all about mastering your mindset to create a life of success and fulfillment in both areas. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more incredible moms just like you. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and mastering your mindset.